Hello y'all, welcome back to Medler's Toy Box. Today we're going to be messing around with a new program that a buddy of mine recommended to me because of all the stuff I've been doing over in Waveform with the MIDI patch bays and patcher-esque things. So this is Bespoke Synth, and basically it's a giant MIDI environment, patcher environment, and you can do some really cool things. So every time you open it up, it does randomize a couple of things, which is easy enough. Just having save states will keep those locked. But basically all it starts with is your main transport, your tempo, your scale, and then the stats of what note is given what frequency, and you can change all of that. But the basics of this is it has some preloaded instruments, some sequencers that will make notes and play things. Each of these instruments has different parameters that it can change, and they're designed to do different things. The tooltips are really nice, telling you pretty much how everything works kind of from the get-go. And what's great is it can load VST and VST3 plugins, so all the plugins we were messing over with in Waveform 13, we can now mess around with over here in Bespoke Synth. So what's great is, let me just grab something basic, and we can have the MIDI in that we're playing here. And we can randomize the notes, we can randomize the pitches, and this is just the built-in note sequencer that Bespoke has. We also have all of our other sequencers that we usually mess around with, like Harmony Bloom, Transition, as well as Stepic. Stochus. I really want to get Stepic, though. That is one of the next sequencers that I want to download. So the biggest advantage to Bespoke is it basically just is a bunch of these patcher pieces, and you cable them all together with your side chains and different effects, and has a great modulation collection. Its LFO is incredible. It has in-depth settings that are wonderful to use for different modulations, and it's really easy. It highlights whatever it can interact with, which is really cool. So anything, like, as you can see, it can't interact with anything over here, but everything over here in the blue apps stays lit because it can interact with it. The environment is really adaptable. You can zoom in and out, make huge patches. Like, you can zoom way out, and you can make absolutely huge things, but also you can make really huge things really small. So all of these compact into smaller sizes for easy cleanup, so you can make some really complex patches look really nice and clean, as we're going to see. Because, as some of you know, I make spaghetti mess patches, and it's kind of daunting sometimes to see all the cabling, and especially animated cabling that Bespoke uses. So sound animates the cables, which is a lovely, cool feature, and you can turn that off. It also has a visual effect that it can paint on the background that I have turned off right now. It's very annoying, but still kind of cool. It's an oscillator that reacts to the sounds of the... There's a lot of other different things, MIDI routing things, built-in synths and drum players, sidechain and audio effects, different types of pulse extensions. So these will just send out signals and nothing else. And then we have environment settings. And the biggest thing that I love is there's these prefabs. So basically you can make patches within the patcher environment, which is lovely, and you can layer these as much as you want, so you can have little pieces put together, so you can puzzle piece bigger and bigger projects in a very modular way, and it has been a wonderfully explorative process. So one of the things, so I'm just going to load one of my first setups just to kind of show you guys something simple that's going on. So over here I have, the drums, a main sound, a driver sequencer here, and just everything kind of going through, and then After Effects here at the end. So this is how complex you can kind of get, and each individual thing has its own settings, and everything in here can be modulated and automated. What's great about the automation portion of Bespoke is you can get really complex setups and make them look very clean, as I said before. So, this is just another simple one. So here is, zoom out here. Alright, so this is the basic generative setup that I have started building in Bespoke. So this is what I guess would be my Gen 4 for generative music that can be just push click of a button and it generates randomly as it goes along. So what I've done is I've kind of just separated 5 areas of songs. And then something that Bespoke has within it is this song builder module. It's basically like a customizable sequencer where you can set your own loops, set how long those loops are, and edit the parameters within those loops given your different pieces. Now, with how I had this, I had it pausing itself, and it wasn't doing very good to generate a long form sound without having breaks in it. So I went back to the drawing board and came up with something much cleaner. So this is generation 5 of my generative AI project. So there's a lot of things going on, but it is nice and clean and simplified. So we're going to go through it step by step as we go along. So what is happening is this prefabrication generative driver that I've built is using different pathways of this note. So this little sequencer is literally just waiting for this pulse to then it will receive that signal and then play a note. Depending on what note it plays, it will send out a frequency, and this filter will then wrap that frequency down to a lower range, send that frequency through here, and then change that modulation to how long the song will be. So all of this right here is determining how long the song will be, and that's randomly generated every single time. The first time I ran this, it generated an 8-minute song. The second time I ran it, it generated a 6-minute song. The maximum I have it set to is 30 minutes, so that's going to be randomly going as well. What's determining when that triggers is this pulse button. But that generally has to be actually pressed by a human being unless we tie that parameter to our control board. So in our loop here, what's going to happen is first it's going to play a single bar of nothing. It's going to be off. Then it's going to start with our first setup of modulation, which this is going to automatically just kick itself into gear, so it sets the song up right away. The first one will always be whatever we set it to, which have it set to 8 bars. We can have it set to longer, shorter, whatever else we want to determine the, I guess, the minimum length of the song per se. Because right now, with everything set to their natural minimums, the song's set for 3 minutes. But it can, you know, in a freak accident, set all these to 1, which would make a 20-second song instead. So what these are controlling is basically the filters inside each of these song parts to be more dominant or more background as the song goes along. And this generative copilot is reacting the same way the generative driver is, but it is changing the values inside the parameter box. So without the copilot going, these parameters would all remain exactly where we set them at the beginning, and that will give you far more control. So if you want this song to react similarly, like with the same pattern, like you always want the lead to come in at a specific point, and you always want the bass to come in at a specific point, you can tell your song story in that way. Or you can use the copilot here to give it complete randomness. So there's that choice of control or not. And this adds the extra randomness, or you can not have this piece and it will remain the same. So I'm going to expand a couple of these so you're not just listening to me point to things and babble on. So as I said, we start with this note creator over here, and it is receiving a pulse from this button, which will come in through this reset loop, which is triggered when we hit a reset point in our master sequence. So it'll send a signal, push that button, send a note. It will range filter that frequency of the note down to 0 to 36, which will send a frequency modulation out to these notes. We're just going to press that real quick. Oh. There it goes. Got to be playing to have pulses and things. So as you can see, everything changed. The reason everything changed is, though this is saying that it will make a 4-minute song, that's not necessarily true. So when it goes through the loop, as you can see, we have the reset after every single song piece. We can have as many of these song pieces as we want. Every single time it hits this reset loop, it's going to change this number for every single thing, which means, though this is 12, this one could be 36, then this one could end up being 92, and it will not change until its loop is hit. So it randomly changes the loop lengths to randomly determine where the song goes. All right, and what's determining the change in the note pitch here, all it is a graph expression, which is changing all values to the note scales, which is 127 different notes that Bespoke Synth is programmed with. And all that is driving that is a sample and hold LFO that's determining a random point on this line. So as you can see, every time it goes, it changes, sends the note frequency, but none of the modulators change until a button press is received. All right, so let's put this back up. All right, so that is driving our length of the song. Over here in the Copilot, things get a little more interesting. Thankfully, these are all just copied pieces, so you can extend this as long as you want, as many song parts as you want. You can extend as many song parts as you want. And you can do some wacky, crazy things. Be careful, though, because this is a free software that you can use with whatever plugins you have. However, if your computer is not powerful enough, it will crash itself. You will see up here in the top right corner my CPU usage for my audio card and my base CPU. It will regularly reach 50%. which is insane for a program. And if anything cuts out while I'm talking, it means I crashed. So hopefully that does not happen. So let me get through my explanation, and then we'll hit play and play around with some things. All right, so in the Copilot, it is also having a pulse button driver. So all it is receiving a yes, let's do our thing. But in each of these, there are multiple other things happening. So that pulse signal goes to this pulse chance. So this determines with a, right now it's out of 0 to 1, so this is a 19% chance that pulse will then continue through this line to the value setter. And the value setter will then receive a input, which will take this value and shoot it to where it's tied, which is the song builder. Oh my gosh, every time I reset it, it unties. So unfortunately, we're going to have to tie those back here in a little bit. And then I just have a simple LFO that is determining the value that's inside the value setter. And that's just a simple sample and hold. You can set that to sine waves or whatever else you want. I'm going to do experiments with different LFO types and how this changes. And then a driver LFO for all of the pulse chances. So they do all get the same chance. So this is also set to 19%. However, okay, you're sending 5 chances. They're all 20% separately. Maybe one of them gets changed and the song will change in a very drastic or very minimal way, depending on how you set these chance LFOs up to affect the randomness. And then these will all be changed to their different counterparts inside the song builder. So it will change over time. Let's actually get this chained up quickly. So all I'm doing is in each of the different song parts, I'm giving the Copilot the opportunity to change a setting. And as you can probably see, I am changing them all at once in the same column. But because we're changing the song parts periodically through the sequence, it can be different as it skips over, because this will receive a reset signal before it's all done. So these will ultimately be absolutely different throughout the whole way. Wish I knew ahead of time that this was going to set when I put it. So you guys, cable management. For me personally, I don't enjoy cable management. I am super glad that this is not real. If it was, I would not be a music producer in the slightest. I don't consider myself a music producer anyway, but this would be absolutely mind-boggling to do in real life. And I've seen some physical synths that do this, and they are a testament to human ingenuity of playing with things and finding out what it does. All right, that is our last modulation cable. So now the Copilot can now drive all of the values, and our sequence is going to start with everything off. Then on its first track, it's just going to play our main sound at full volume. And the only thing we're using for volume control in this first build of the generation is a filter mechanism down here. So all of these have the same filter, and we just have it coming to the cutoff, which basically just turns out all the sound or brings them all back. Simple filter cutoff. Then inside all of these, it's just generating a random note. So this is an automatic sequencer that within the 8-note intervals that it's counting, or whatever interval we give it, it has a 50% chance to hit a note at the pitch we give it, at the velocity, yada, yada, yada. And then all I have in this one is I gave it a little extra duration, so it'll last for quarter of a measure. So I gave it a quarter note, and I can change that however I want. I can also put that and other note effect modules throughout these little pieces to affect how the sound will change. I can also add side chains and things like that, different types of sequencers, doing different types of things. You can also, really cool, have a note canvas. This is similar to a piano roll, however, it is horrible to use as a full piano roll, as you might be able to tell. So I have loaded a MIDI song into this. So it is a small MIDI loop that randomly you'll like hear the song come through. The first time I tried this, I showed it to my roommate. He didn't notice it at all. He actually told me that I need to have more sharp sounds in here, and hopefully I will discover how to turn that up. It's actually this song part that's supposed to be those sharp parts, which was interesting. So hopefully I can play around with the parameters in due time, or maybe we'll just get a playthrough that will give us the sounds that we need. But first thing, before we go through, I just want to kind of show you guys all of this. So everything should be... so we can hear everything going. Kind of hear each of the different parts that are supposed to be in this piece, but may or may not show up depending on what the Copilot decides that these values will be. So I am going to... So I went for a really dark and broody noise, as I've been doing with my ambient music, and it has been kind of a struggle to get out of it, to be honest. And I've just been trying to kind of make some things that where I lean into it, so maybe I can just bleed it out of my system. And all I have is different instruments playing different parts. Different things. I have this one playing a little... Actually, this one's pretty cool. So what's great is some of you might recognize this file type. It is a Minecraft sound file, because what's great that Mojang has with their sample library is anybody can use it for whatever, which is awesome. Yeah, we got that spacey noise there at the end. So kind of sharp. I'm going to do some more experiments with different noises, different samples from our sample packs that we've gotten from Cymatics and different places in the past. And also definitely a couple more Minecraft noises, because this cave noise is just kind of perfect to have play randomly once in a while. So what the Copilot is going to do is it's now going to, these are all now at 100%. So this is what it would sound like if everything was generating at 100%, and it is being filtered through Valhalla Supermassive and Cymatics Origin, which in the output modules we can have different effects chains that we want to put on the master board. Or we can have nothing go at all. And all this bar is a multi-track recorder, so you can set Bespoke to record different stems
to go and throw into your other DAW. Bespoke doesn't call itself a standalone DAW. It actually really calls out that it wants you to have another DAW to really take the sounds that you're making over here and bring them over there for further editing and cleanup. But it really gets you like 80% of the way, and you can have something simple like Waveform 13, which is also free, to just kind of clean everything up and have some fun with that. Alright, so now that we have everything kind of explained, hopefully I didn't babble too much in between there, and everything kind of makes sense. If anybody has any questions, of course, you can reach out and say something so we can go over it individually. But let's kind of see how this sequence works. You can have these scenes change immediately with switch. Oh, getting two UIs. They're hovering over each other. So here we go. Switch changes things immediately. Jump changes immediately and also resets the global transit. So basically, if you have any parameters that are tied to the state of the transport, it will reset them all the way back. So for example, Harmony Bloom is a great example of this. It has its retrigger feature. This is a way to automatically retrigger something like Harmony Bloom that has a literal start point in its sequence. But we'll just have it switch so they stay in the middle of their patterns as these parameters change. And then during our reset periods, we have everything set to half, so everything gets kind of an even bar, and then it'll transition into the co-pilot's decision making. Let's go. I don't know what just happened. Accolade. Okay. Forget you have to prime it. So what's great about this is you can build prefabs to have things like I do have a reset button to change all these parameters back to 0 if I wanted to, so that the song starts the same way every single time. Or I can change different things on the fly if I wanted to and affect them in person, because the only thing about Bespoke that kind of sucks is you have to record live. So everything happening, if you want to record and keep it, it has to be live. It can't process everything rendering wise and output a file in less than 30 seconds like Waveform and FL and the other big DAWs. Also, like if I wanted to, you know, run my voice through this to record something, like maybe I want to do a voice changer or things like that, I have to attach my microphone in and record live. I can't, you know, do everything and then edit it out later, which kind of sucks. Did not get a good load on this. So I would just, load the patch again and reset everything. This is... and that is lower than 15. then once it hits this reset, it'll set what 2's gonna be, then 3, then 4, 5. We're not gonna necessarily sit through the whole thing. Probably just sit through the first reset to show you guys how everything here on the side changes. All that. Completely glitching out right now. Something is making loop, but this should be the only thing making it. Something somewhere is making it. This should be the only thing that triggers up. Set to it. How long is it? Yep. Triggering a loop. Random note usually. Oh, because this is set to a length of 4 and it's this is set to the 23 measure. Is it? Or, huh? That's weird. Hope none of these detach. Okay, they're all still connected. Okay. These are all back to 8. So let's pause it. I'm up right. As you can see, these all did just, but they don't change every time because of the random chance. Not gonna do it for me. Up. Perfect. And then and it did. Trigger. As you can see, it sent out a huge array of things. Let's see if it loops at 80. I have to try to. And it's broken. So hopefully, I thought about this earlier with an emergency measure. Turn on its loop. Max loop of 32. Something is improperly looped. I think that's it. Needed to force loop it through there. Yeah, that was the setting. I need to force loop it. Whoopsies. And as you can see, it's slowly changing the length of the song and the parameters as parts. So that is the setup for my next generative project and how everything kind of inside of it works. And we're going to take time over the next few weeks where I'm going to keep delving into this, and I might put up a couple of standalone videos with some different experiments. Hopefully I don't get too demotivated with all the other stuff going on in life. But as this is kind of clunky with its recording, I don't have enough tracks to kind of generate from it yet. So today we're going to be using Generative FM from Alex Bainter as our background music. And then we're going to be switching over to Minecraft, where I'm going to be showing you guys something quite cool that we're just going to have fun and kind of play around with, since I knew that I was going to talk a lot in this episode, where I wanted to really give Bespoke its thing because I truly love it and I will be playing around with it more. So I'm going to go and get everything set up for Minecraft, and I will be back with you guys in a little bit. All right, I got everything back and set up, and as you can see from the message, I did have to kill myself because I forgot I was actually in the middle of a run doing a test for this. I will explain what this is. So this is Infinity Dungeon by Nebulion. Nebulirion. Yeah. But this is the main creator and secondary builder, and then his partner in crime, Psy91419, and then you guys have the beta testers to give credit to as well. Paper, Critical, Fangzel, and Focal Salt. And they have made this wondrous little mini game with a generative dungeon. I wanted to kind of keep the generative theme going this week. And they also have generative parkour. They made this kind of little server welcome room. This is a great mini game to put on a server. It keeps track of your high scores. I've done a lot of runs doing a lot of testing because I want to kind of shape this mini game into something that is highly playable and that I can bring around on Minecraft Mondays when I want to just play something that is kind of cool to show you guys, but isn't, you know, me grinding out like a mining shaft that week, which is what I'm doing over in the stream world. Is I'm grinding up a bunch of resources to do some bigger projects which are more interesting to show you guys. But what's really cool is how this reacts to different texture packs and things like. Alright, so I found this really nice post-apocalyptic one. Yes, it's for an older version of Minecraft, but it doesn't matter because Nebulirion, hopefully I said that right again, made most of the map with simple textures. So I really want to use this creepy post-apocalyptic style. The other thing I'm working on with this is right over here. I've got some mods hidden underneath the floor here. I should have shown you guys this before I changed. So you can switch around in creative mode on this map. They allow you to do that, but as soon as you die, you'll go back to adventure mode, and nothing physical about the spawn room changes, so you can set up custom commands. So I'm giving myself custom little scoreboards and things, and side stats for the game, so it's a little bit more interesting to follow. But let's check it out. So this is the main spot. Standing over the end portal will prompt you with the message to generate the dungeon. The size of the dungeon is determined over here by the settings board, and you can decide on a 16 dungeon, a 32, a 64, 128, 256, or you can set it to custom. But 256, you should probably set that to the max, and that will generate huge dungeon floors that are probably very difficult to clear. But you get a lot of loot and become very strong by clearing a lot of those dungeons. Smaller dungeons, you're not going to get as much loot, and you're going to be presented with boss fights and things a lot more frequently, and you're going to have lower tier gear and probably die a lot. So this is actually harder than this depending on playstyle. Currently, I believe I have it set to 64. So let's go, and in here we can just click the link here to generate our dungeon. They have a lovely little menu system with the chat box. The only thing that I need to be careful of is not moving too much, because as it's generating a dungeon, it's using a bunch of different commands to lace it all together. Alright, now that the dungeon is generated, I'm gonna cut out my mic and just kind of chillax with y'all as we play out the rest of the stream and have fun exploring the dungeon.
Thank you. Hello? Oh no! Thank you. Looking for a trade. Appreciate it. Thank you. Looking for a trade. Thanks. Thank you. Do you want to trade? Thank you.
Alright, guys, that is going to be an unfortunate last death there. That is unfortunately all that I have time with to play today. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed the look into Bespoke and are just as excited for some of those experiments as I am. I'll be checking you next week where hopefully I have a full generative library prepared so we can have our own background music and don't have to have the lovely sounds of generative FM to help us in the background. But thank you guys so much for watching and have a wonderful rest of your night.